I'm double checking this map. Okay. Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. Remember this. Okay, so Lithuania is still in the somewhat of a siege with Kaliningrad, despite splitting it in two. But there are but then they decide to push up into Latvia. With this, they do so successfully, and Estonia decides to go screw on the previous peace treaty with Latvia, and decides to completely encircle the capital for themselves and take it. Um, Lithuania obviously isn't too happy with this, so they quickly reach out to take the rest of what they can get from Latvia. Estonia sees this and quickly rushes in so they can get their territory. Eventually, we see the complete surrender of Latvia, so now it's just down to who can get the most land out of it. Um, Eventually, Estonia is able to get slightly more, I'd say, from Latvia, but Lithuania gets a good chunk too. Actually, I think Lithuania has more. And they seem pretty equally sized, but whatever. So now, it's time to annex these places. So with this, Lithuania, obviously annexes their areas, and Estonia obviously annexes their areas, but Lithuania decides to try to steal a little bit from Estonia. So now we have the Greater Lithuania. With this, Estonia decides to take some land from Lithuania. God, it's getting tiring saying these names over and over again. Um, So yeah, we have Estonia taking their land back from Lithuania. So now we have a very thick Lithuania. What have I done? And then we see the obvious full annexation of the Estonian Latvian territory. They also decide to annex part of their Russian territory while they're at it because just why not? And now we have a very tall Estonia. Jesus, once again, what have I created? So Estonia ends up joining the border, and now we have this abomination. Wow, and this little territory right here is going to be remain in dispute. We also still have Latvian troops over in Belarus, so Lithuania quickly goes to secure them. With this, they're able to successfully take all the troops and claim it for themselves. So now they're the ones pushing down into Belarus. Belarus's capital is getting more exposed by the second. Um, and then Ukraine decides to go on an attack Lithuania. So they do just that by pushing up and meeting their forces, in hopes of just completely wiping them out while taking parts of Belarus with it. With this, Ukraine is able to take multiple sieges and is able to capture Minsk. Belarus does not fall though until more and more land is taken. Most of it being from Ukraine, but part of it being from Lithuania. So now we have most of Belarus just being carved up at this point, and it eventually surrenders. But Russia goes in to save it. They do this by sending troops through Lithuania, which are taken out as they walk through, until they eventually meet this little red line right here, and they just send troops down through here to meet the Belarus offensive. Um, On another one of Ukraine's fronts, we see them eventually reaching Moscow. With this, they're able to partially encircle it, so Russia goes into a siege. Wow. And we also see the fall of a massive city in Russia, that being Volgograd, with Azerbaijan forces being the ones to take it. Russia thinks that its only hope now is to capture the capital of Kazakhstan so they can get back on their feet, and they're able to successfully do so. So with this, they gather their forces and once again plumb into Kazakhstan, as if they already weren't in it. Um, Eventually, they're able to completely capitulate the country, except for the parts controlled by Azerbaijan and Georgia. Azerbaijan is very tempted to turn on Georgia, just for the sake of getting the most land out of the situation. Eventually, decides to come to a non-aggression agreement yet again to keep their stuff secured. Georgia is also able to push Russia out of themselves. So with this, we have lots of casualties right now, and the world's kind of getting tired of it. It's been about a whole year since this whole messy war started, and now people are tempted to end it. So with this, all the countries are going to launch big offensives in hopes of getting land, so they can get a better peace treaty deal. With this, Lithuania runs in to annex Kaliningrad, but they use lots and lots of manpower to take it out because Kaliningrad is pretty well defended. Um, After they do this, they're able to start pushing out Estonia, but Estonia has a plan to just take, um, Lithuania over. So with this, they gather their troops, not that big, Jesus, and they're able to push down in and eventually take the capital and push up. This leads to the eventual surrender of Lithuania. So now Estonia is now deciding that it's going to sign peace because they don't want more war. With this, they have to come to a territorial agreement with Russia. Um, this territorial agreement is going to be a little messy. That's why I was kind of mumbling and stuff. But after long negotiations and logistics, we have Estonia getting this land from Russia and taking it. They eventually annex all of Lithuania, although they have to deal with many rebellions, not rebellions. And in all these countries where the land is being taken, it's all just partisans and stuff, mainly being the ones to slow down the offensive. Although most of the countries aren't as stupid as Russia, except for like Belarus, thinking that they would be seen as liberators. So most of the other countries are prepared for these like counter offensives, I guess. Um, with this little part being occupied by Lithuania, Estonia also gets this little part, and they even take parts of Russia with it. So now we have a very thick Estonia. Jesus. Well, I've seen a trend with countries becoming weirdly thick in my videos. Not intentional, I swear to God. So now we have Estonia deciding to rename itself to the Baltic Union. Ukraine also decides to peace out after they're able to successfully take Moscow, which leads to the complete surrender of Russia. Also, by the way, nations will be signified with the surrender, with their capital turning white. So yeah, now we have the surrender of Russia. With this, Ukraine and Moldova decide to completely peace out of the war. And now Ukraine is also going to become very big. So with this, we have Ukraine taking what's left of the very small Belarus, and also getting good lands out of Russia, and taking lots of the industrial heartland, and even pushing down a little bit. So now with this very big Ukraine, like, what have I done? I do this in all my videos, and I get even more shocked every time I do it. We have Russia being just screwed, and like I said, they've already surrendered, but still, this is extremely devastating. With this, we have a pro-Ukrainian government being set up, and also the withdrawal of Ukrainian troops in Russia. So now Russia eventually goes through their own change, and this time they could say no, but they tried but couldn't